As we look through the book of Job, we find there's a few places where he's really looking for Jesus, and one of them is in chapter 10, verse 4, where he says to God, "If only you had eyes like I have, if only you could see like me." And it's like he's saying, "If only you had nerve endings, if only you could feel this angst, if only you could cope with this turmoil and trouble that you seem to have foisted upon me." And the chapter to 10 is quite hard reading, really, but chapter 10, verse 4, if do you have eyes like me? Do you see the way I see? And of course, what Job doesn't know is that centuries later, God is going to come to us in human form. He will have eyes like us. He will have nerve endings like us. He will hurt himself. He will be damaged emotionally. He will have that life trauma that all of us experience at different degrees through our lives, and Jesus will experience that. God will experience that, and Bonhoeffer said, "Only a suffering God can help." And that idea that Job was looking for a God who is with us, I think, is so profound, and it caused me to think about the human Jesus and the way that he uh, gives us an example of life authentically, and the verses that talk about the way that Jesus prepared for his life. One of them is the he grew in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man, and that's in the beginning of Luke's gospel, I think, Luke 2 or 3. And the idea that God needed to give Jesus wisdom, that he needed to grow in that, just seems really important. That he grew in favour, that he lived under the favour of God, and again, that's really important. The idea that Jesus was able to see what the Father was doing, and I just love that about Jesus, that he was able to see what the Spirit was doing and give himself to that. So if he saw God working in some way in that person, he could bless that, he could act on that, he could add to that, and be in the flow of what God was doing in the world. And then the two things at Jesus' baptism that I think is so important for us to live as whole and human beings, as people who loving and following Jesus. And one was that Jesus got to know that he was dearly loved. This is my beloved son, and we need to know that. We need to live in the benefit of that, and then that he is a child. That this is my beloved son. And again, we need to know that we're a son or daughter of the living God. And then the way that really would affect Job and helps us is the way that Jesus looked with compassion, and saw the crowd, saw the woman, saw the funeral procession, saw the blind man, and his heart went out, his guts were wrenched, he had compassion, and then he says, "Go and do likewise." And Paul adds it to the list of Christian characteristics, this compassion that we have, because God has put it in our hearts. So I hope that as you think about the human Jesus, that it will just help you to live better as a human, and also to recognize the way that God has come to us, that he lives with us, that he is with us. Have a good time as you talk about this stuff. I'll see you in a bit. Bye bye.